Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for one of our WESK webinars. My name is Lola Adibogun, and I am WESK Marketing and Admin Assistant. Today we have Nick, Program Advisor at WESK and CEO of Refresh Inc., presenting on 5 mental health tips every entrepreneur needs to know. If you have any questions for Nick as we go through the presentation, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box, not the regular chat box. However, do feel free to use the regular chat box to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business. As always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive an email with the link to the recording this time tomorrow. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Nick, to now begin the presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Lola. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be able to present this conversation to you today. I think it's a very important and essential conversation that we're going to have today, talking about mental health and tips, especially as an entrepreneur. I'm going to, okay, so I'm going to share. Lola, I think I heard you say I can share. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. I am going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Share. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. And Lola mentioned as well that there's a chat box and a Q&A box. Q&A box, so that's perfect. Okay, so I'll move these over just so that I can see. Okay, so very excited to share this information with you. Hopefully you can all see my my presentation slides, and I want to just go ahead and jump right on into it. You know, just very quickly, Lola mentioned a little bit about myself. Very actively involved at WESK. I do business advisory, and also when I'm not at WESK, I also run a firm called Refresh. So my world is very much tied to entrepreneurship. I work with entrepreneurs locally, nationally, internationally, different categories of business that I focus on: strategy, marketing, and innovation. And so this topic was actually one that really hit home for me personally, because I get to work with a wide range of entrepreneurs, and I see some commonalities. It allowed me to put together and do some research as well, just to see what I could find out on the internet. So the challenge that I have is that I created research about 50 to 60 pages here, and I've got only an hour to share that information and to communicate and have some exciting conversations with you. So I'm going to do my best and try to motor through the content. I'd like to stop. I'd like to try to use the chat box as well. Maybe if it's okay, if you don't mind, maybe pop something in the old chat box and just say, "Hey, Nick, how's it going?" Just so that I know you're there. And that would be amazing if you could do that. And we're going to go ahead and kick off. So first things first. Whoops. First things first. So the agenda. I want to just give you a little bit about the entrepreneurial climate and the situation that's going on right now, and I want to just share. So I want to give you some background, give you some mental health and wellness tips, and then talk about some next steps that that you might want to consider. Okay, so soak this in. Get in your spot. Get comfortable. And think about some of these stats that are out there. Canadian Mental Health Association has some stats. I'm going to read these to you just to give you a sense of the intensity that entrepreneurs are experiencing. So listen to this. 2/3, 62% of entrepreneurs feel at least depressed once a week. Entrepreneurs who are female or whose enterprises are on early stages and with fewer employees, less revenue, they're likely to report even more mental health issues. Half, 40s, almost half, 46% say that mental health issues interfere with their ability to work. 1 in 5 entrepreneurs, so approximately 21%, feel satisfied. Feel actually feel satisfied with their mental health less than once a week. So, and amongst the general population, 8% of Canadians perceive their mental health as poor or fair. These are not good stats. This is a big challenge, and as an entrepreneur, you're feeling the brunt of this too. So the reason why I got so excited about this research is it ties into what I'm doing in entrepreneurship, but it also ties in into all of you and the conversations that I get to have with entrepreneurs, especially through WESK, on a regular basis. So I did say that was going to be tight on time, so I'm going to go ahead and move along and say let's get right to it and let's go talk about those 5 mental health tips. So let's go for it. Number 1, build support. Okay. So what that means is a number of different things that I want you to think about. Feeling stressed, feeling down once in a while, that's okay. That's normal. If you're waking up every single day with knots in your stomach, maybe feeling emotionally empty, these are not such good things. So, you might be surprised to find out that you are not alone. Even in the chat box, just for a brief moment, if you don't mind, have you ever felt down or stressed about your work? Feel free to share as much or as little as you want. I'm definitely going to ask lots of questions through this process. So if you want to, if you feel comfortable answering the questions and doing some reflections through the chat, I'm going to encourage you to do that. If it's something that you're going to soak in quietly behind the scenes, also okay. So give yourself permission to participate as much or as little. So think about that. How often and how often do you feel like stressed, or do you feel that sometimes business has gotten a little out of hand. So realizing that you don't have it all figured out might sound like a weakness or failure, but it's far from the truth. Actually, in many respects, failure can be our best teacher, and no one, I think, is more fearless than an entrepreneur. So with that said, I want you to be able to say, it's okay to say, what, it's not going perfectly as well as I thought. There's times when I need to do things and do things a little bit differently. So you don't have to go at it alone. You can consider having a partner, an advisor, mentor, join a mastermind group. Lots of options will present themselves in order to give you a way, an outlet, in order to be able to really strengthen and actually lighten the load, the burden that you might be carrying. Having that support system is very important, not just within your family, but also outside of the family. Other entrepreneurs who are going through the same thing. Sometimes when you say, what, this is going on, it's uncomfortable, somebody says, yes, me too. That's exactly what happened to me last week. Or it happened to me today as well. So having that sounding board is incredibly important. And so you should find one that makes sense for you. Gives you an opportunity to be able to share. Solopreneurs, if you're out there, it can be especially a lonely place to be. And in fact, some of the research suggests that solopreneurs experience even more stress. So this is why you want to have that network and that support system to really sort of help you navigate and make you feel okay and comfortable. So how do you build an online a community of support amidst a pandemic? Well, online, of course, is one of your obvious best bets. I would just like to turn to the chat box also and just say, is there any networks that you could that you currently plug into, either online or even if it was pre-pandemic? What are the types of things that you do in order to build up your support system? So please, yeah, take advantage of the chat box and let's have that conversation. Um, One of the other things that is incredibly powerful and impactful from a network and a support system is that you can gain more perspectives. You might say, this is really hard. This problem that I'm experiencing, it's difficult. I'm not getting through it. Sometimes that person who's in your support group or in your network, they might say, I had that problem as well. That's been a challenge for me in the past. And but this is what I did. This is how I handled it. And so you can get a perspective that you might not have had previously. It might help you through it. Might actually it gives you a chance to express and also to be able to relax yourself. But also you get to hear others, and others might be able to take something away from you. So you might have answers that other entrepreneurs are saying, this is a pain point for me and I'm having difficulty dealing with it. So becoming vulnerable with your struggles and feelings, it really opens the door for other people to share as well. So consider that. The second one on that list is destigmatization. Have you ever noticed that in the land of entrepreneurship, it seems like that being a successful entrepreneur almost exudes this hero-like status in our culture. And what we often look at is when we look at success stories out in the market to say so and so started a business, now it's a million or $1 billion empire. Wow, they must have got it right. How come I'm having some challenges at the front end here? Why is this so hard? They must be really good. Maybe I'm not that good at this. That's perfectly the opposite of the truth. Most of the success stories that you'll hear out in the market and into the world, most of them had failures and strife and struggle before they got into a point where they were able to make it into a big and very successful business. So we need to deal with that stigmatization of and the stigma of entrepreneurships. It's like it's like to be busy is this badge of honor, and then the busier you are, the more important you must be. What that is all suggesting is that neglecting your well-being in favor of productivity is somehow virtuous, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So burning the midnight oil while sick, drained, exhausted, otherwise deficient, um, uh, that those are not attributes that we want to emulate. Yet we, in our market, in our world, we see that as an ambitious go-getter because they are on the point of pain. So we don't want to exude that. We don't want to encourage that. We want to destigmatize. It's okay to be able to say that you are human and you need breaks and you need self-care. That's one of my next topics. Um, we need to be okay that take that time to destigmatize and to say I need to take care of myself as well as my health, and allow that to permeate into your business that you're developing. So when you look at entrepreneurship and you think about the stigma of being a hero, I would ask you to try focusing on contentment more than trying to be the next billion-dollar business. Contentment is that state of satisfaction where you say, I'm here today, this is where I'm going, or this is what I've targeted. And when I get there, I'm going to feel really good about it. Then I can reset and I can start working on my next goal. So goals that you can put together that make you feel comfortable and helps you progress, those are healthy goals. Trying to compare yourself to say, well, I've just started my business last year, and I'm not at the stage where I can do an IPO, or Facebook just seems to be marginally ahead in their sales than I am, and then you take the brunt of that. You're personally, that's not a way to grow your business. So we want you to be able to say, you know what, every step of the way I'm successful, I'm growing my business, and if this is the speed that I'm tackling it, so be it. um, Back to the chat box, does this sound familiar to you? Are you exposed to the stigma of becoming a successful entrepreneur as almost this hero like status, and do you ever feel compelled, or do you ever feel like you have to spend those that energy, those late nights, maybe not eating proper meals? Does that ever do you ever feel that as well? I'm curious to know if you feel that way, or if you felt like you've had to do that, or do you feel a bit more like, you know what, this whole entrepreneurial code of deprivation is something wrong with it? So yeah, if you want to share, that'd be great. Number 3 on there, maintaining connections with loved ones and yourself. um, with the social distancing that's happening right now, a lot of us are feeling quite isolated. But all of us as humans, we have a need to connect with each other. So it's literally impossible to be successful in life without mastering the art of connection. So try to make time to connect with yourself first, but then with others as well. And so with that, talking and keeping in contact with your family members, um, especially amidst pandemic, we've really learned the importance of what family members are, and the importance of having family in our lives. So they're your biggest supporters, and they're going to be with you during your tough times. So don't stress yourself internally. Discuss those feelings with your loved ones. Um, you may not get all the answer problem solved, but I think it's going to help you ease off some of the pressure that might be building up in your mind. Therapy. So you know, it's an interesting topic when it comes to therapy. A lot of times, uh, therapy had been considered taboo in the past. I've even seen examples where people have said that, well, but if you're going to go to see a therapist or a psychological professional in some capacity, um, clearly that means something is wrong with you. That's the problem. But that's a lie, and that needs to end. Um, we need to get to the point where it's okay that we say, you know what, counseling, having support pillars, um, whereas talking to family and the category of creating that network and support system, that might be more like a peer support where someone's similar to you. The professional route is also an option. So don't be afraid that if it makes sense that you need to talk to someone in a professional setting. There are a lot of successful entrepreneurs who regularly do take in and work with a professional. So let's get away from that whole mindset that just because I contacted and I worked with a professional, that somehow means that there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean that at all. Okay, so this is all. So tip number 1 is about building your support. I'm seeing some of these amazing messages here in the chat, so I'm trying to read them at the same time, but I'm loving the fact that these conversations are happening. All right, let's move on to number 2, which is practicing some self-care. Okay. So I realize that it's not exactly the easiest to go to the spa these days. Um, Typical self-care routines, going to get acupuncture, any of the things that you might have normally gone and done, it's a little difficult right now. Um, but it's self-care is now more important than ever. And any busy entrepreneur needs to remind themselves to take some time out of the busy schedule and put their mental health first. Self care can take many forms. It might be for you, it might be gardening, it could be a fancy cup of coffee, drawing. I have met many entrepreneurial women who say it's a pleasure and it brings her happiness to just do her own makeup. Bubble bath, even just a walk around the neighborhood. So one thing though that rings true across the board is make time for self-care every single day, especially um, as um, especially as an entrepreneur. Stress is going to play a role in your life. Learning how to deal with it is incredibly important. It's really vital. So choose some behaviors that balance the effect of the emotional and your physical stressors in your day-to-day work. Some of you may be engaged in entrepreneurship that's very mentally draining, some physically, and some, of course, a combination of the two. So I would say I'm just I'm reading some of the notes. As in the chat, and I'm enjoying them. So why not talk to your plants? I mean, that if it works for you, that's excellent. You know that then you are already ahead of the game because you are finding tools and solutions that actually work for you. Okay. So amongst the usual list here, okay, so I guess so back to the chat box, I was going to say, what does self-care look like to you? What are some things or some rituals or some habits that you say, as soon as I do this, I feel good. I feel relaxed. I'm happy, and I feel like I can take on this day and be incredibly productive. So please share if you've got some good tips. I'm sure others would love to hear them as well. Okay, so item number one, I think it's fairly straightforward: food and exercise. Have you ever heard the saying, "We are what we eat"? Uh, there's a meme that's out there that says we are what we ate. So when it comes to your food, like, our energy, it comes from what we put into our body and how we take care of our body. So what we eat has an effect physically and mentally. And a healthy diet, it's known to help with depression, preventing depression, and also cognitive impairment. So high quality foods, that should be on your list of things that you should be doing. If you're not, why not? Um, and if you have good health, you can also sail through pretty much any storm. When your health is not on your side, it makes things a little bit more difficult, and especially with the stress and strife that we put on our bodies. So make sure you're paying attention to your food. Exercise just is equally important. Do you have a routine that works for you? Lots of data out there that suggests physical activity, time being spent outdoors. You find what works for you. Aerobic exercise, jogging, swimming, walks, gardening, dancing, whatever floats your boat. Find something that makes you happy and do it. So back to the box, I'm going to ask the question. What does your exercise routine look like? What does your food? Are you on top of it as an entrepreneur? It's okay. We can use this box as confession if we need to. If it's not looking so good, maybe the first thing to do is say, yeah, it could be better. So while you're sharing that information, uh, keep in mind that there's lots of virtual things you can do as well when it comes to exercise. Video exercise. I forgot the word for it. Like whole um, where like there's video where there's an instructor and you can just follow along. I forgot the word exactly for it, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So those are options. Dancing is an incredibly powerful tool to help the mind and soothe your stress. So maybe what you need to do is crank up the tunes and bust a move and really take some time just to relax and chill out. Dancing improves memory as well. True fact. So think about that as well. Here is something that we often hear. Sometimes people say things like, "Well, I haven't got time. I got a proposal I got to get done. Work is demanding. This whole hour a day, 7 days a week thing. I'm not doing it." Well, nobody said you had to do an hour a day, 7 days a week. You can start with even the most basic. One example that I often hear of is it's called exercise snacks. I hadn't heard of that before, but basically what it is it's a 20-second interval where you just get up, do some movement, a good rigorous 20 seconds, and then you can go back to whatever it was you were doing. There is research that says these kind of little exercise snacks or snips, what they can do, that people have, it's proven that people are feeling more motivated and alert after they do it. So the ask is 20 seconds, not necessarily 7 days a week for an hour. So you see if that makes sense to you. Okay. Exercise doesn't mean just physical; it also means your brain. Reading. When's the last time you picked up a good book that wasn't a proposal that you were presenting? When's the last time you picked up something that it was just for the pleasure and the consumption of the content, not that it was somehow to be immediately applied back into your business? So think about that. Vocabulary games, those kind of things, puzzles, those are fun. Those are certainly going to help you with your mental relaxation too. So, and music inspires creativity. Um, I so fun fact. Um, on a very regular basis, I will fire up my YouTube and listen to music and watch videos from all decades, and I love it. It makes me feel very relaxed. So find what makes sense for you and treasure it. So I say go for it. Sleep there is number two on this list. But again, it's incredibly important for brain performance. There's research out there that suggests targeting 8 hours a day. Probably more realistically, people are going to do anywhere between 6 to 9. But if you aren't doing that, have you experienced as an entrepreneur? Have you experienced the good old crash and burn where you work really really late, then you get up extra early, and then that night you're thinking, I'm just going to take a little nap, and then I'm going to be back and I'm going to be doing whatever I got to do, and then you take that little nap and then you wake up the next morning. So the crash and burn experience, and I know that one personally, it's not fun. It's not good for your body. We put ourselves through those experiences, but we should be trying to seek some sort of a balance where, if at all possible, try to avoid that. You'll get, if you're getting a proper rest, it just means your output and the results of what you do is just going to be that much better. But try not to do that and make that one a particular habit. I've heard people who have said, the 4 hour experience, work, get 4 hours sleep. Wow, do I ever feel accomplished? Look at what I was able to do. But when you really look back at what was produced, you discover that the quality of the content wasn't that great. So think about that. Morning routine. This is actually of utmost interest to me, and I really would love to hear any thoughts and considerations that you might have introduced into your routine. So it's really sort of the I would like you to consider the morning time as sort of the prime routine real estate. It being responsive in the morning, it's incredibly important. It's our best hours in our day. We have about a window, maybe 3 4 hours in every day where we are at our best. Our mind is focused. So we need to take advantage of that, and we need to have that routine in place. It sets you up for a prosperous and a productive day, and you're going to be more likely the things that you put on your list that you said you wanted to tackle that day. You're more likely to achieve it. So if you want to live that reality, definitely work on that routine. I would love to hear if you've got thoughts as to what you do. I'm all ears on this one. Investing in your non-work identity. This is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and it's something where we get so consumed by our work, we forget about the fun things that we used to do, the things we were doing before entrepreneurship, the things that we love, but we say, I'll get to that when I have some time, because right now my priority and the only thing that I need to focus on right now is work. Um, you really can't be your best if you're not uh, nurturing your personal self. And so for that reason, there's lots of things that you can do. If, for example, like let's just even look at some simple examples. Let's say you have a dog and you love to walk that dog, and you want to walk your dog every day in the afternoon. Well, can you, as an entrepreneur, can you shuffle and can you move things around in your schedule so that you can make sure that your time with your pup is committed. And even if you needed to tackle some work, or if you had to swap hours in order to make that happen at 4 o'clock or whatever time, can you adjust your calendar so that those priorities, those things that make you happy, that's not necessarily work related, can you fit those in? So that's something I want to challenge you about. And if you can do those things, you're going to feel a sense of happiness because those things were important to you, and you won't have to start to create this guilt related stress because you really want to walk Fluffy, but you feel like you can't because you've got emails that need to be responded to. Sometimes those emails can wait, so go ahead, and sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to say, what are those things that matter to me that's not work related? I have a question for the chat box as well. Do you have any guilt? Do you experience that when you take your mind off your entrepreneurial gas pedal? Do you suddenly say, I really want to do this, but I need to focus on work? So I'm saying to you, should you feel guilt? I'd be curious to see if, how you feel about that too. I'm seeing some comments already in the chat box. So, volunteering, hobbies. Having a hobby can really help on your mental health and wellness. I've learned in recent weeks, months, painting is a very popular experience that people are up to. Journaling, basically, writing down thoughts and actually making a conscious effort to practice that self-care. So I'm gonna ask again to the chat box. Is there a hobby of yours that you love? And I'm asking so that we can share it with the community. but I'm also asking it because I might need to pick up that hobby. I'm looking for some hobbies too. So it's a kind of I'd be interested to see what everybody's up to, or how they take their mind off of work and go do some fun things. Okay. And just another thought, laughter, fun. Um, do you have fun every single day? When's the last time you had a really good laugh? And I'm not talking about just a little guffaw. I'm talking about you've laughed so hard you almost need to change your pants kind of laughter. Like when you were like saying, "No, now I am. You can't get me any more relaxed than this moment." So I'm curious. Do you remember that last time that that's happened? And try to make some room to seek out that fun. You know, I challenge you, if you've got something on your mind where you've been saying, I keep telling everybody in my world, my family, in my life, I keep telling them I need to do this one thing, and you haven't done it for years. It's almost funny. I'm uh, I'm going to challenge you to say, why don't you find a day in the next week or two, play hooky if you can, while you're the entrepreneur, so you know your schedule better than anyone. Go ahead and give yourself permission to time, and give yourself that time to do it. I dare you. So let's see if you'll take me up on that. But I want you to think about that, and super important that you look at those things that nurture your non-work identity. Okay. Healthy boundaries. This is another really important one. So what I think. Oops, that there. Okay. So one thing that I do think about is that I realize as entrepreneurs, uh, we often spend 10, 15-hour days, and you may need to do that work, but you also need to draw a distinct line between this is what I'm working and this is what I'm not working. So you need to have the ability to move your focus elsewhere, and that is an art. It's something that you as an entrepreneur need to be able to develop, where you say, uh, my mind is not on work now, and now it's walking my dog, or it's talking to my plants. It could be watching a movie. It could be whatever it is, going for that walk. But you need to be able to have that ability to say it's now playtime. If you are working from home, can you separate your physical environment to be able to make that happen for yourself? Do you have space to create that mental cue to be able to say in your own home, to say, well, this is my office and this is where I'm gonna do my work. And when I walk out that door, I'm not at work. I'm with my family, or I'm with my significant other. Do you have that ability to create that boundary? That's one example of a boundary. Can you resist the urge to look at your phone and tackle work while you're sitting on the couch watching a Netflix movie? Are you okay that you don't need to be on 24/7 just because you're at home? That shouldn't equate in your mind, well, okay, well, I'm home, I'm free, it's after 8 o'clock, I got that email, maybe I better go and do it. Maybe you don't need to do it. It is a short distance to burning out if you apply that process too much. And the other thing is, why have you set things up where you need to respond to things at 8 o'clock anyway? Are there options for you that you could deliver? Like, for example, could you do something on your website? Could you share information that may have removed some of that need for you to be on call after a certain time in your day? I realize that doesn't apply to everybody, but some of you it will. So see if those are an option for you. Oops, I meant to come to this slide here. Can you set yourself strict cutoff times? We as entrepreneurs, there's always this perpetual to-do list. Got to get this done. Got to get this done. Got to contact that person. Got to send this email. File this. Contact other people. It's not going to end. The only thing that's going to change is how you want to deal with it. So, do you ever have that experience where you're with family and the phone rings and you feel this instant urge to tackle something? Or even if you don't whip out the phone, do you, in your mind, like you're there, you're having dinner, but in fact, in your mind, you're actually back at work? So you need to work on that to help yourself tackle when it means to shut off work and be part of and enjoy your personal life. So back to the chat box, I'm going to ask the question. Does this sound familiar? Or are you saying, I don't know what you're talking about, Nick? I'm curious to know what you're going to say. So if you can clearly mark your boundaries between work and life, sometimes what I have heard is people will engage like almost like a warm up and a warm down routine. So when they're getting their morning started, what are the steps that they do to get themselves ready to say, I'm in working mode now, I'm in my lane. And then at the end of the day, what do you do to say, okay, I need to pull back a little bit now here. It's almost time for me to wind down and go and be part of the family again. So as a business owner, your phone, it's and your emails, they're never going to stop. But setting the cutoff times when you start to feel overwhelmed or it's just too much, it's critical to your sanity. So if you don't have such a behavior, I'm strongly suggesting that maybe you consider something along those lines. Question back to the team, back to the participants here too. What do your boundaries look like? Do you have any? Do you feel like you got it right? Do you think you need to revisit? I'm curious. Please share. Rethinking phone behavior. I just had a couple other little nuggets here. Do you need to be on all the time? Have you ever used the do not disturb feature on your phone? Social media apps, and your email, when they notify you, is that like the bat signal where you've got to get on it right now, or can it wait? Is there a way for you to change the settings on your phone so that that you don't have to feel like you have this immediate pressure to deliver? Okay, worst case scenarios. Sometimes we work on our businesses, and in the spirit of healthy boundaries, I want to talk about what business success and speak a little bit about business failure. It's incredibly important to understand that if things are going well, if things are not going so well, there's factors in play. Don't attach that to being personal failures. You need to detach, and you need to separate the business and how it's performing and not let that be a determination of your own personal self-worth. Sometimes we see that where the business and the entrepreneur cannot detach themselves. So I'm going to encourage you to think about that, and encourage you to think about keeping a healthy distance between, when you ask yourself, if I do something when I'm in entrepreneurship and I say, what could possibly happen? Don't create situations where I might lose the house, or you create situations in your business where you're taking risks that are unjustified. Don't make sure you understand the risks, the exposure you have, and put yourself in positions where you say, well, if that happens, I might be out $500. Life will go on. That's okay. Understand your worst case scenarios of some of the decisions you have to make, because you might discover that it'll alleviate some of your burdens, and then it might actually, if anything, it might propel you to make decisions faster. So think about those worst case scenarios as well. Tip number 4. I realize I'm looking at the time. I'm going to have to step it up a little bit here. So so step it up. I shall. Decompressing. How exactly do you chill out, relax, and take care of when it's time to take care of your mental stress, the burden that you carry on a regular basis? There's the 4 ideas here that might be important to you. But first things first is no matter what we talk about, you do what's best for you. I saw lots of examples already in the chat box where we were saying that everything from I'll talk to my plants, I'll dance, all of the different things that make sense to you. It's all good. And if part of relaxation is hanging out at home, in bed, in your sweatpants, and just chilling out, well, then that's what you need to do. But finding out what works for you and what really relaxes you, try different things, see what makes sense. Meditation is one item that I'm experimenting with, and something that I'd like to encourage. Meditation has incredible amounts of mental health benefits. There's research out there that suggests that meditation can also help with the brain's ability to process information. So there's something to think about. It might even slow and reverse changes in the brain related to aging. So that's there's another benefit. And however you choose to relax, like sometimes with meditation, it might feel awkward if you've never done it before. You might say, sitting in silence and just reflecting on just openness, just clearing my mind. This is not something I'm comfortable with. It's one of those things that you have to try, experience for yourself. If you allow it to happen, it's it's like any other hobby, I suppose, where it takes time to get it right. But once you get into it, it's incredible what those little bursts of time, that time to relax your mind, and before it starts wandering and thinks the worst of a particular situation, it's incredible what it can do for your mind. Sometimes I've mentioned this before. Sometimes music is my haven when it comes to relaxation. So I have spent many days, nights, where I'll take a little a window of time, and I'll go listen to music, and that has always been a really effective experience for me. Mindfulness. This is where you get yourself back to the present and being centered. It's incredibly important, and there's lots of things you can do with mindfulness training. There's gratitude. So I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of gratitude, but just thinking about all the wonderful things that are happening in your life, writing them down, and I'm not talking about an hour, 2 or 3 minutes, just to say, that's going really well in my life. Whether it's material things or if it's a humorous thing that you heard the other day from a child. Could be the basics. I've never had a hot shower like that one before. That one felt really good. Things like that. So in the chat box, if you don't mind sharing, what are you grateful for? An example that would be, if you're comfortable sharing something like that, that's great. I find that gratitude training as well, it does make you feel a lot more calm. And just I personally feel that there's a bit more connectedness to the present. So that's one that I would like to recommend and encourage. Journaling. So again, writing down thoughts. Another thing I'd like to share is sometimes what I've also heard about is journaling your negative thoughts, because sometimes when it's just nagging you, it's in the back of your mind. It's actually nagging you from your subconscious. So I've heard that journaling your negative comments brings it to it moves it from the subconscious to your conscious, so that you can deal with it and you can actually say, that could happen, that could be a problem, or that is a problem, I need to deal with that. Sometimes journaling your negative thoughts actually is an incredible way to release some stress. If anybody has comments on that, please share. I'd love to hear if you've ever journaled negative thoughts too. So it doesn't always have to be the positive, just for the example and for the reasons I just mentioned. And identifying your triggers. So thinking about thinking, if you can understand the challenges and the things that are causing you to react a certain way, then at least you can tackle it. Stress triggers. The more you become aware of the things that are affecting your mind, you really can tackle and address it. So I think all of these are just examples. If you've got other ones to share, I think that was my papers were a little too close to the mic there. So the point I was trying to make here is just that find ways to decompress. And if you've got some really great examples, pop them into the chat box. Let others know that you've got a great idea as well. Within my last couple of minutes, I've just got to share one more thing to you, which is about working smarter. And what's that all about? Well, you know, the whole concept that success is not a destination, it's the journey. Be happy, be excited that you know, you've decided to embark in the world of entrepreneurship. Sure, there's going to be challenges with it. Not every day is perfect, but you know, be happy that you created the journey for yourself. That actually is one of the best and most rewarding pieces of entrepreneurship. So, you know, take the time out of the day to feel, you know, to feel that success. I would highly recommend that. Number two, you know, your zone of genius. What that really gets down to is, because you're the entrepreneur, you know, yes, you dictate and drive the direction of the company, but find the roles that you particularly like to do and engage in those, and the roles that you don't enjoy yourself. Surround yourself with people who do enjoy those things. Find people who can do those better than you can. That's the real mark of a great entrepreneur, is being able to know yourself well enough to say, that's not something I should be doing because I don't really enjoy it anyway. And why did I start this company again? Yeah. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about your zone of genius and where you need to spend your time. Hiring outside help, I think, is self-explanatory. There's things that you should just not tackle yourself. Maybe you need a VA. Maybe you need to sub some knowledge work to a consultant. Make a list of all the things that you need to tackle, and give yourself an honest review of that and say, should I be doing that? Is that actually the best place for me to spend my time? You might discover that you'll get a lot of time back, and you won't hesitate, or you won't frustrate yourself with worrying about delivering on something or a piece of the project that you don't actually enjoy, and it could be somebody else's love. So prioritizing tasks, making the most out of your time, you know, doing less with more, doing less in order to achieve more. That's an opportunity you have as an entrepreneur. is that you can really look and gauge to say which of these items here make sense to me, that I should tackle, and which of these items are just not a priority. Prioritizing your tasks. You may have 100 unread emails, but maybe there's 5 or 6 that you absolutely need to tackle today. Learn to prioritize is an important part of your business and your future, and your success as an entrepreneur. So here we go. Right at the end here, 5 tips that I wanted to leave you with. Build your support. Number 2, practice self-care. 3, setting some healthy boundaries. 4, learning to decompress. And 5, working smarter. That's the entirety of my presentation. I appreciate all of the content and the sharing over the chat. I'm going to actually go through it after this presentation. So Lola, don't let me not get a copy of the chat, please. I'd really like to have a copy of it. And I just wanted to say thanks, everyone. Take your time, think these over, connect with your support network, talk to a business advisor. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you even took one nugget away from this presentation. I'd be thrilled. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Nick, for that presentation. It was wonderful, and everyone was so engaged on the chat, putting in the things that they do to de-stress themselves. And thank you to all of you who took time out of your days during your lunchtime to join us. Don't forget to check our events page at west.ca/events to register for our upcoming webinars. I see that there are no questions. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you.